while traversing the Pacific Ocean at an altitude of 36,000 feet, precisely at 11:58 a.m. local time. The aircraft experienced a sudden and powerful jolt, accompanied by a thunderous noise. Panic ensued among the passengers as the plane violently shook. The autopilot and auto-throttle disengaged, and the instruments became obscured for the pilots due to the intense turbulence. The airplane rolled to the right at a 40-degree angle, rendering it uncontrollable. Would the pilots succeed in safely reaching their destination, or were they destined for a tragic end in the depths of the ocean? This narrative recounts the events of United Airlines Flight 1175 on February 13, 2018, the day preceding Valentine's Day. A total of 363 passengers and 15 crew members boarded United Airlines Flight 1175 at San Francisco International Airport en route to Hawaii. Typically, a direct flight from San Francisco to Hawaii lasts approximately 5.5 hours under favorable weather conditions, primarily traversing the Pacific Ocean without overflying any other countries. Most passengers were likely traveling to the Hawaiian Islands to celebrate Valentine's Day, completely unaware that an unforeseen and dramatic turn of events was about to unfold, one that would remain etched in their memories. The aircraft assigned to this flight was a Boeing 777, a long-range, wide-body twin-engine airplane with a maximum takeoff weight of 545,000 pounds. At the time of the incident, the Boeing 777 had a relatively low accident fatality rate and had accumulated nearly 990,000 flight hours and over 16,000 cycles since its inception, with a cycle defined as a complete operational sequence. The operation of an aircraft engine encompasses the entire cycle from startup to shutdown. This process includes activating the engine for a flight and subsequently turning it off. Each cycle signifies a complete utilization of the engine, regardless of the flight's duration or distance. This metric is vital in aviation, as it aids in monitoring the wear and tear on the aircraft's engines, which is essential for maintenance and safety protocols. The aircraft was outfitted with Pratt & Whitney PW4077 turbofan engines, characterized as dual-spool axial flow high-bypass turbofan engines. Within the cockpit, the crew comprised 3 pilots: Captain Bam, aged 57, who served as the pilot monitoring, First Officer Paul Ayers, aged 60, who was the pilot flying, and off-duty United Airlines First Officer Ed Gagarin, who occupied the jump seat. Captain Bam had amassed over 13,000 flight hours, with 360 of those on the Boeing 777, and had also participated in acrobatic flying throughout his 40-year aviation career, a background that would later prove invaluable during the flight. First Officer Ayers had logged more than 11,000 flight hours, with a notable 10,000 hours specifically on the Boeing 777. As the moment for pushback approached, the ground controller, stationed near the aircraft, communicated with the cockpit to confirm that all was clear. The pushback tug, a robust vehicle, latched onto the nose gear of the 777 and began to smoothly and efficiently push the aircraft away from the gate. This operation, though familiar and performed countless times, showcased the precision and coordination between the ground crew and the pilots, exemplifying a ballet of technical expertise. The aircraft was positioned on the taxiway when the tug released its hold, allowing the pilots to take control of the engines. The familiar hum of the engines signaled the commencement of yet another journey. Inside the cabin, the flight attendants conducted their safety briefing, a reassuring routine for seasoned travelers and a vital instruction for newcomers. Passengers varied in their attentiveness. Some listened closely, while others were absorbed in their thoughts or electronic devices. As the Boeing 777 approached the runway, Captain Benham inquired if co-pilot Paul wished to handle the initial leg of the flight to Honolulu, to which Paul consented. After receiving clearance from air traffic control, Paul advanced the engines to take off thrust, propelling the aircraft down the runway. Upon reaching the required speed, he pulled back on the control column, lifting the nose, while the rear wheels were the last to detach from the runway, marking the aircraft's ascent into the sky. As the plane climbed, San Francisco International Airport quickly diminished in size, transforming into a mosaic of lights. The landing gear was retracted, accompanied by the familiar sounds of the mechanism, indicating it was securely stowed. Once the Boeing 777 ascended to cruising altitude, the flight progressed smoothly, with the two Pratt and Whitney engines humming steadily and the skies remaining clear. Hours passed without incident as the cabin crew catered to the passengers' needs, ensuring their comfort while the aircraft glided steadily over the Pacific Ocean, instilling a sense of calm and routine among the travelers. Unaware of the impending dramatic events that would transpire several hours into the flight, the pilots initiated communication with the Honolulu control frequency for a routine check-in. During this exchange, they received updated weather information from the aircraft's onboard computer system, which indicated overcast conditions at an altitude of 1,000 feet and a visibility range of 10 miles. The temperature was reported to be approximately 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Captain Benham proceeded to conduct a descent checklist and briefly left the cockpit to use the restroom. Upon his return, a sudden and violent explosion jolted the aircraft, resulting in the disengagement of the autopilot and autothrottle systems. The aircraft began to shake violently, making it difficult to read the cockpit instruments. The intense turbulence produced a deafening noise, akin to the sound of a metal structure collapsing, accompanied by the sounds of bending and crushing metal. This chaotic environment compelled both pilots to shout in order to communicate with one another while flying over the Pacific Ocean at an altitude of 36,000 feet, far from any potential landing site. The aircraft unexpectedly rolled to a 40-degree angle to the right, rendering it uncontrollable. Unbeknownst to the pilots at that moment, the right engine had suffered a full-length fan blade fracture. Passengers in the cabin were gripped by fear as the captain declared an emergency, with no one able to ascertain the cause of the aircraft's distress. Faced with the urgent need to stabilize the aircraft, Captain Benham sought the assistance of First Officer Paul to help tilt the nose. In an effort to rectify the aircraft's steep descent, the crew worked in unison, skillfully maneuvering the controls to their maximum capacity while increasing the throttle to its peak. This crucial action was necessary to sustain the aircraft's speed during this pivotal moment. Captain Benham engaged the left rudder and activated the left aileron to counteract the rolling motion. Drawing upon his 40 years of flying experience, including acrobatic maneuvers, he instinctively sought a delicate balance to maintain flight and avert a plunge into the ocean, all while grappling with uncertainties surrounding the jet's malfunction. He adeptly adjusted the aircraft's nose, stabilizing its altitude and roll, thereby realigning it with the standard flight path within the first 30 seconds after the incident. Initially, Captain Benham and his co-pilots were uncertain about the jet's condition, as the engine instruments indicated normal readings, leaving the cause of the instability unclear. However, after this brief period, the right engine indicator and crew alert system provided critical information. There was no engine pressure. With this revelation, Captain Benham concluded that the right engine had failed, yet he remained puzzled by the continued violent shaking of the aircraft. He promptly directed First Officer Paul to initiate the severe engine damage checklist. Collaboratively, they meticulously followed each step of the checklist while still navigating over the Pacific Ocean, with Honolulu 200 miles away. Upon completing the checklist, Paul shut down the right engine, resulting in a reduction of the vibrations, although the aircraft's control remained compromised. Captain Benham faced an unusual situation while managing the aircraft's descent. He increased the throttle of the left engine to its maximum in an effort to achieve a controlled descent rate of 1,200 feet per minute. The crew made the decision to declare an emergency, prompting Captain Benham to instruct Paul to carry out the drift-down checklist while directing Ed to secure vectors to Honolulu International Airport, all while operating with a single functioning engine. As the aircraft descended to flight level 330, Captain Benham adeptly piloted the plane into the clouds, reducing airspeed to 241 knots. This descent posed significant aerodynamic challenges, particularly due to the disrupted airflow over the right wing. Captain Benham recognized that lowering the nose to increase airspeed could jeopardize the chances of landing in Honolulu, while raising the nose to decrease airspeed would heighten the risk of stalling. He determined that maintaining an optimal airspeed between 245 and 255 knots would ensure stable flight without risking a stall, with the left engine generating 90,000 pounds of thrust while the right engine was inoperative. Given the altitude loss, he anticipated a one-shot approach and landing in Honolulu. Captain Benham maintained control under these demanding circumstances by continuously monitoring altitude, airspeed, and distance. He requested Paul to re-engage the autopilot and auto-throttle. However, these systems were non-operational. Consequently, Captain Benham was compelled to manually fly the aircraft all the way to Honolulu, a considerable challenge. Throughout this ordeal, Captain Benham maintained clear communication with his crew. The captain communicated the issues with the right engine to the cabin crew and indicated the potential necessity of ditching in the ocean due to control difficulties, instructing them to prepare the passengers accordingly. He requested Ed to take a photograph of the right engine to gain a clearer understanding of the problem. The pilot remained perplexed about the cause of the aircraft's shaking and the need for full throttle to sustain a shallow descent. Ed recorded a brief video of the damaged right engine, which he subsequently shared with the pilots. The footage revealed that the engine's cowling had been torn away, clarifying the situation. Ultimately, the captain recognized that the aerodynamic dynamics were compromised and reached out to the Airlines Network Operations Center for assistance with the checklist and to notify Honolulu's local control center about the incident. Captain Benham adjusted the flaps to 1, and a palpable tension filled the cockpit. A wave of relief washed over them when the flaps engaged successfully. As the aircraft descended through the cloud layers, the runway lights became visible. The captain instructed Paul to lower the landing gear, which Paul executed without delay. Following this, Paul briefed the captain on the go-around procedures. However, Captain Benham emphasized that they had only one opportunity. Paul lowered and secured the landing gear once more, instilling a sense of reassurance in the pilots. The aircraft's nose aligned with the runway's centerline as they broke through the final cloud layer, revealing the stretch of tarmac ahead. They then selected flaps 5 and continued to flaps 15, maintaining an airspeed of 180. Emergency aircraft landing instructions were communicated for Flight 1175 Heavy. If not already done, all fire services were prepared to assist. The runway appeared to expand, and details became increasingly distinct as Captain Benham gently guided the aircraft down. The sound of the tires making contact with the runway resonated sweetly in the cockpit, followed by a smooth deceleration as reversed thrust was applied. Applause erupted in the cabin as passengers recognized the successful landing. Once the aircraft came to a complete stop, Paul notified the captain that he could relinquish control. Captain Benham realized he had maintained a firm grip on the yoke with his left hand and the throttle with his right for a duration of 40 minutes. Following a thorough inspection by aircraft rescue and firefighting personnel, it was confirmed safe to taxi the aircraft to the gate. All 363 passengers, along with 3 pilots and 12 flight attendants, were able to disembark without any injuries. In the aftermath of the incident, a comprehensive investigation was promptly launched by multiple agencies, including the Pratt and Whitney Materials Laboratory, the FAA, and the NTSB. This investigation involved reviewing the aircraft's records and conducting a direct examination of the engine to determine the cause of the malfunction. Investigators discovered a full-length fracture of a fan blade in the right engine, along with a small hole and several dents and gouges in the fuselage near the right engine. Additionally, there were 2 small dents and punctures located on the right side of the fuselage, just below the window belt in the vicinity of seat rows. The examination of the engine's fan blades on the 20 and 21 revealed that fan blade number 11 exhibited a transverse fracture across the airfoil, located directly above the fairings between the base of each blade. Additionally, fan blade number 10 was found to be fractured across the airfoil at approximately mid-span. Further analysis indicated that the fracture in fan blade number 10 originated from fatigue, stemming from a subsurface defect on the interior surface of the hollow core. During the investigation, service records indicated that the engines had undergone their last overhaul in 2015, at which point Pratt and Whitney was employing thermal acoustic imaging, a developing technology to assess durability. Although a thermal indication was identified at the precise location of the blade fracture, Pratt and Whitney engineers dismissed it as a mere paint issue. Significantly, a large portion of the right engine inlet assembly was missing, including all inlet lip skin, the forward bulkhead, most of the inner and outer barrels, and approximately half of the rear bulkhead, all of which were lost at sea. Furthermore, the majority of both the inner and outer halves of the fan cowl were also unaccounted for. The inlet after bulkhead was constructed from carbon fiber reinforced plastic in production aircraft, whereas during engine fan blade out certification testing, an aluminum bulkhead was utilized. It is noteworthy that aluminum, while capable of absorbing the same amount of energy, can yield differently compared to carbon fiber reinforced plastic. Structural analyses indicated that the design of the carbon fiber reinforced plastic after bulkhead was less robust than that of the aluminum counterpart. During the engine certification process, the bulkhead was subjected to testing, which may have played a role in its detachment, leading to the engine inlet becoming compromised. This resulted in severe shaking, as reported by the pilots, who noted that the disruption of the aerodynamic surface significantly affected the aircraft's stability, causing it to roll to the right following the initial impact. To prevent a similar incident in the future, the FAA issued an airworthiness directive in 2019, which mandated regular engine inspections based on usage cycles. Specifically, a requirement for fan blade inspections every 6,500 flight cycles was established, a standard that was subsequently adopted by other national aviation authorities in August 2020. Boeing updated the FAA regarding its efforts to enhance the Tri-7 engine covers, informing regulators of its decision to redesign and produce replacement covers that airlines could use to retrofit their fleets. In response to the incident, United Airlines issued full refunds to all passengers on the affected flight. A year later, the cockpit crew was honored with the Superior Airmanship Award from the Airline Pilots Association for their skillful landing of the aircraft. Captain Benham's remarkable actions were particularly noteworthy, showcasing extraordinary determination and composure under extreme pressure. Throughout the final 40 minutes of the flight, he maintained a firm grip on the throttle and yoke, manually guiding the aircraft to a safe landing. If you found this video informative, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. Thank you for watching.